At dawn on July 1st, 2018, the neighborhood of Burari in Delhi woke to a completely silent house. A local family had missed their usual morning routine, prompting a neighbor to walk through this very door to check on them. Inside, the neighbor found 11 members of the Bhatia family dead. They were hanging from an iron mesh in the ceiling, arranged in an eerily synchronized circular pattern. The scene inside the house entirely contradicted the family's public identity. Look at the fully stocked shelves of their grocery store. The Bhatias were an established, financially stable, middle-class family with no visible red flags. This dense crowd of police and civilians captures the scale of the panic that morning. Investigators immediately assumed a crime of this magnitude required a mass murderer, an external conspiracy, or a forced occult sacrifice. The forensics ruled out all of those theories. Post-mortem reports confirmed there were no struggle marks, no poisons in their systems, and no signs of forced entry. The act was entirely self-inflicted. A subsequent psychological autopsy ruled out typical suicide, leaving authorities with an impossible question. 11 ordinary people executed a coordinated mass hanging without intending to die. The explanation for how they reached that point was waiting in a stack of handwritten diaries. To understand the final night, we have to rewind exactly 11 years. In 2007, the death of the family patriarch, Bhopal Singh, created a massive leadership vacuum and an acute emotional crisis within the home. His younger son, Lalit, stepped into that vacuum. Initially, Lalit became severely withdrawn. Soon after, he began telling his family that he was receiving direct verbal instructions from his deceased father's spirit. This diagram illustrates a clinical psychiatric condition known as shared psychosis, or folie à famille. The condition begins exactly like this. A severe delusion originates in one dominant, central individual. Over the next 11 years, Lalit maintained strict authority by documenting his father's supposed instructions in a series of diaries. Watch how the delusion spreads over time. The isolated family members gradually accepted Lalit's rules as absolute reality, synchronizing their entire worldview with his delusion. Deeply ingrained cultural norms accelerated this compliance. Traditional expectations of unquestioning obedience to family elders, combined with a strong spiritual background, made Lalit's authority impossible to challenge from the inside. No stranger infiltrated the house to coerce them. The Bhatia's own traditional family structure turned inward, transforming their home into a sealed psychological prison. That 11-year conditioning culminated on June 30th, 2018. The diaries outlined exact instructions for a final ritual called Bod Tapasya, or banyan tree penance. These aerial roots of the banyan tree served as the symbolic blueprint for the ritual. The family was instructed to hang like these roots, which required them to blindfold themselves, tape their mouths shut, and tie their hands behind their backs. During the execution of this ritual, there was absolute calm. Crime scene photos showed zero evidence of panic or desperate struggle. Every single member participated willingly. Investigators found the reason for that calm written explicitly in the diaries. Look at this translated instruction for the final night. Everyone will help each other untie after the ritual. 11 people stepped off their stools in the dark, firmly believing a divine presence would intervene and save them at the last possible second. It was a fatal miscalculation, born of absolute trust. 3 years later, authorities released their final closure report. The police formally concluded there was no external killer and no criminal conspiracy. It was an accidental mass death caused by blind faith. Society expects severe mental instability to be loud, chaotic, and visibly obvious to anyone paying attention. Looking down into this tightly clustered Burari alleyway reveals the terrifying reality of the case. The Bhatias lived inches away from their neighbors, They ran businesses, chatted with customers, and attended social functions. Yet they underwent a total psychological collapse in complete secret. The tragedy strips away the comforting assumption that we would automatically notice if the people closest to us were losing their grip on reality. A profound mental collapse does not require an isolated jungle compound or a charismatic outsider. Sometimes a family quietly becomes its own cult, hiding in plain sight.